What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on first take, they're going to be talking about the series between the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. And is this series over already? Because Golden State's up 2-0. So let's see what they have to say about that.
I don't see how Houston could come back for this because I think what's required is an absolutely Herculean effort from James Harden in ISO play. And ISO play against the Golden State Warriors is not going to get it done. And you need that kind of explosion from James Harden in order to win basketball games. And the very thing you need is the very thing that's not going to work against the two-time reigning defending NBA champions. As far as I'm concerned, this series appears to be over in 5.
This series is not over. Look, if you believe this was going to be a long series before the series started, if you thought one way or another this is going 6, maybe 7 games before the series started, and you did, what's changed? Listen, all that just happened was Golden State held serve at home, like they're supposed to do that. So if we believe that the Rockets will win Game 3, I think they're going to win Game 3. You think the Rockets are going to win Game 3, Stephen A?
Yes.
Okay,
and
let's just hold it right there. I'm saying let's just hold it right there.
Okay.
If they win Game 3, then the next step is, so far everything's going exactly as we thought it would go. Now, if they lose Game 4, of course, their back is up against the wall. It doesn't look good for them, but we'll get to Game 4 when we get to it. This happens all the time in the playoffs. The home team, the higher seed, has advantage. They're supposed to hold serve. The real big thing would be if Houston went and won one on the road at Golden State in the first 2 games. If they got a split on the road, we'd be like, whoa, maybe Houston can win this thing. But just the fact that they didn't get the split on the road doesn't mean the season's over. I will say this.
So let me stop right there, Max. So the reason why people are thinking what they're thinking of it being over is the way that Houston started, the way James Harden started. He's supposed to be their bread and butter, backed up by Chris Paul, but he started out terrible. He didn't start out playing his game. He didn't start out, he's working hard and he just started flopping. He started out the gates flopping and looking for the referees to save him and just playing terrible all around game. So you can't. I know he got his points, but the whole flopping thing and depending on the referees to help him get points is just a terrible way to start. He didn't do it like that last year when it took Golden State to Game 7. So, I mean, just the way that Houston came out, the way that James Harden came out was absolutely terrible. It just looks terrible. And for them to, go down 2 games against Golden State that looks completely dominant, everybody's running on all cylinders. I mean, it just doesn't look good. But I will say this, I do think that the Houston Rockets are going to win one game. They are going to get one of the 2 at home for them. Now, I'm going to say that not because they're going to beat Golden State Warriors and outplay them, but because the Golden State Warriors are going to beat themselves. And they're going to take the foot off the gas and get lackadaisical and let the Houston Rockets slip in and get one win. So not because Houston Rockets are going to beat them, but the Golden State Warriors are going to beat themselves. So one of the big 3 of the big 4, I think they're going to play a so-so game, and it's going to be enough for Houston to climb in and get one win. But there's a good side to that. Having Golden State lose one game is that they'll be able to come back home and win the championship at home. I'm sorry, not the championship, but they'll be able to win this series at home. So that's the only good thing I see coming from Golden State losing, which I don't want them to lose. I hope that they sweep them, but I just have a feeling that Houston is going to be able to pull off one. And it's just the way that James Harden came out and playing, just the whole attitude of already being beat before they played. And it's just absolutely terrible the way James Harden presented himself in this series, and most likely the way he's going to go down and have his season finished. So let's keep going.
The Hamptons 5. I want people to understand how good this lineup is. And Boogie's absence, I thought, was going to be maybe problematic against the Rockets because his presence would suck Capella away from the rim. And Capella, without Boogie there, could be more of a rim defender, right?
So I don't know why you would say that, Max Kellerman, because Boogie hasn't really been that amount of a factor this year, let alone they won before. They won 3 championships without him. They won 1 without KD. So all these guys that have been added pieces to the puzzle. So Kevin Durant was just icing on the cake. And then Boogie was icing on the icing of the cake and the Golden State Warriors winning. So really, those 2 guys, Golden State won before they got there. So as far as Boogie being a factor, to tell you the truth, I really forgot about Boogie. I forgot about him. So, I mean, that's how little of a factor that he is. So, I don't know. Let's keep going.
Be more effective defensively, I thought. The problem is this. Instead of Boogie, you have Andre Iguodala. And he is diminished compared to what he was several years ago, but he's still an excellent player.
So you should be ashamed of yourself for saying that about Iguodala. I mean, you should be ashamed about yourself for saying that. Iguodala has been playing the same role that he's been playing since day one of the Golden State Warriors putting in work, which is why he got Finals MVP a couple years ago. And what's he doing now? He's balling again, pulling his weight. He got 16 points last night on top of his defense. I mean, Iguodala is absolutely balling, and this is where it goes to all pieces needed. He may not be a starter, which I think he did last night because they didn't have a center, obviously because Boogie was out and Bogut didn't start. I think he only played 2 minutes. But Iguodala plays his role. He does what he's supposed to do. Nobody whines, complains. Everything is working the way it should be working right now. So let's keep going.
Andre Iguodala is just such an underrated player with an underrated career, and he's played an underrated role in this Warriors dynasty.
So I would not say that he's underrated. I don't mean to keep stopping, Max, but Iguodala is not underrated. He gets the praise that he's supposed to be getting on the level he's supposed to be getting it, because he's not better than Klay. He's not better than Kevin Durant. He's not better than Steph. He may be on par with Draymond, but as far as that, he gets the praise that he's supposed to get on the level he's supposed to get it, and he got Finals MVP a couple years ago. So some of the big three or the big four starters for Golden State won't even get Finals MVP because Kevin Durant said we stole 2. Iguodala's got 1. So as far as that, it can't get really more better than that. So let's keep going.
The MVP of their first championship for the defense, he played on LeBron. The Hamptons 5, Stephen A. Let's really think about this. I want people to realize this. Remember the death lineup? The death lineup is the Hamptons 5, except that instead of Harrison Barnes, you have Kevin Durant. It's the only difference. The death lineup plus KD instead of Harrison Barnes is the Hamptons 5. That's going to be really tough to beat. And they were at home. And they were playing great defense. The Bucks and the Warriors showed you the number 1 seeds at home played defense. It's
Go
really
ahead,
tough.
keep talking. Keep talking and keep making my point. Keep going.
And yet there we were late in the game that should have been a blowout, considering everything we just said, considering Harden couldn't see, considering everything I just mentioned. A 4-point game late. Like they clawed their way back.
You want to talk about claw? I'm happy James Harden caught that tie your claw to the grill last night. You notice how he went down and nobody cared because everybody's thinking, oh, here goes James Harden. He's flopping again. He's flopping real hard this time. This time he's flopping about his eyeball hurting. You know, that's what happens when you cry wolf. That's what happens when you cry wolf so many times, James Harden. Nobody's really going to care until they take a real good look at you. So as far as I don't want anybody to get hurt, but that's a little bit of karma for you coming back and poking you in the eye and telling you what you should not be doing for the overall picture, Mr. Harden. But as far as, like I said, it's just terrible the way that they've been playing and the way he's presented himself and played this series. It's absolutely terrible. So let's keep going.
Rockets, and they did this under bad circumstances. They didn't show me they're going to lose game 3, and we'll get to game 4 when we get to it. I'm telling you right now, this series isn't over. It's going to be a long series.
Again, I look at the Houston Rockets, and if you recall, there's a couple of things that I mentioned. I kept talking about how CP3 wasn't the only one out. It was also Andre Iguodala last year. And I also keep talking about Mike D'Antoni and his system offensively. So much is predicated on the explosiveness of James Harden. James Harden is going to get his. James Harden is going to get numbers. He's going to put up some numbers, but you're waiting for an explosion. I'm saying to you, it's not that they lost game 2. I anticipated that they would lose the first 2 games of this series. I was just anticipating Houston would go back, win 2. It would be a back and forth series, go 7 games.
So what changed?
Because I'm just telling you, because of what I...
So, Max, what changed is what everybody was thinking the way Houston was going to approach this game. You would think they would come back or come into this series fighting, ready to put up a good fight and just running on all cylinders and giving the best that they can. But James Harden, they started out with flopping and not playing their game and just looking for the referees for help. That's the type of stuff you do when you're fighting for Say this to be game 7, or this is the final game of the series, or something like that. That's the type of stuff you do. You fight and claw for whatever you can get to win that game. But you do that in game 1, and then game 2. I mean, it's just the bad. What changed is their style of what you would think that they would come in playing, and it was just absolutely terrible and embarrassing. That's why people are saying that things have changed between this series with Golden State and Houston, Max. That's what's changed, because they're not putting up really too much in the fight. I know James Harden is scoring; he got his money's worth. But as far as, the flopping and all that, it's just a bad look. It's just a very bad look, and they're probably going to go down in 5. Like I said, Houston might get one, but not because they ball out. It's going to be because Golden State eased up off the gas, and they've been known to do that. So, I don't know. Let's keep going.
Watch last night in terms of how they work effectively against Houston's offense and how so much is required of James Harden. I'm saying you actually need that. Before we were looking at other guys got to step up, etc., etc. No, in order to beat Golden State, in my opinion, James Harden has to look like James Harden looked in the regular season, which goes to your point. You talked about making shots. I'm talking about an explosion. You got to put Golden State on its heels because they can't figure out a way to stop somebody. Their system was working. They took their foot off the gas at certain points in the game, but they walked around throughout the game, Max, incredibly confident in what they were doing because it was working effectively. You've got to put somebody that has the capability to snatch their heart out of their chest over the course of 48 minutes. James Harden is that guy. That's what he has to do, but I don't think it could be done against these guys.
Look.
And that's what everybody was waiting for him to do, Max. That's the thing that's changed. Everybody's waiting for James Harden to come into series. They've had a whole year to be ready and prepare for this very moment. And what's he do? He comes in and cries like a little girl and super flops and tries to get the referee to help him. This isn't game 7. This isn't the final game. He does it to start the series out. He does it in game 1. That he's not being like I said, he's getting his points, but he's not being the dominant leader, aggressive leader that he was during the regular season. He's not doing that. He's getting his points, but he's not leading his team. He's not being aggressive. It's just really embarrassing for James Harden, and it's like he's been beat before the series even started. He's been beat. So I don't know. Let's keep going.
The Clippers showed you if you play team defense, if you play for each other, and you have an unstoppable ISO scorer, Lou Williams, you can get a couple games against Golden State.
I don't think that's what it is at all, Max. I don't mean to keep stopping him, but I think it is. The reason why the Clippers got so many games in on the Golden State Warriors is because the Warriors were playing to the level of the Clippers. And I think that's all it is. That's all it is. Especially with Kevin Durant getting beat up by Patrick Beverley in 2 games. That's not normal. That's not normal at all. And there's no reason for that. No reason. But Golden State is playing to the level of the competition, and they got beat twice. Now, hopefully, I'm hoping they don't do that with the Houston Rockets. I hope they sweep them. But something tells me that they're going to ease up off the gas, and they're going to let Houston sneak one in, and only because Golden State eases off the gas, and they're going to get one, and it's not going to be a sweep. So, I don't know. Let's keep going.
The Rockets are better than the Clippers, and Harden's better than Lou Williams. But I'll say this, I give Harden a pass. I've been Harden's biggest critic about choking under pressure, but I give him a pass for last night.
So do I.
I saw him play some defense when Harden's defense has been much more consistent every year that we've seen him, including this year where he's a very disruptive guy in passing lanes. And last night, Stephen A., with no eyes, he was pretty good. He wasn't bad. He was pretty good, especially as the game progressed.
Yeah, so he's pretty good. Well, then maybe before game 3, he should have someone else do the tiger claw and claw his eyeball half out. So he plays just as good a game, if not better, than what he did game 2. So maybe that's a problem. Or maybe that he's going to use that. This is his escape. Oh, my tiger claw, the tiger claw that got me and almost tore out my eyeball. That's my excuse. That's his thing he can use from here on out. That's why I had a bad series, even though it happened in game 2 and game 1. There's no excuse. But from game 2 going forward, that could be his out. Well, if my eyeball hadn't been scratched out, I would have played a lot more better, even though game 2, I kind of got beat up. And that's what Houston fans are going to be seeing all year. Well, because last year it was, Chris Paul was hurt. He didn't James Harden didn't have any support. This year it's going to be, well, game 2, if somebody had a tiger clawed James Harden's eyeball out, he would have been played a lot more better, even though he got beat up in game 1. So, I don't know. I can just see that being an out for him for another year. But you get no excuses with me, James Harden, because I know what you can do, and everybody else knows what you can do. So, let's keep going.
Remember,
I'm going to give him a pass for last night.
With both eyes good, he started off really bad, and then he came back damn near blind and played better than he was when his eyes were fine.
Yeah, I'm saying, but that tells me something. Any team can start off slow. They started off bad. If you're a big three-point shooting team, it doesn't mean so much. You can get your way back in there quickly, which they did. But what I saw from Harden last night was heart. I give him a pass for not beating the Warriors last night. I saw heart. If he takes that heart that you're mentioning into game 3, remember, LeBron didn't start out killer under pressure. He choked against Dallas when he was in Miami. Every fourth quarter, didn't want it, right? Did not want it, playing hot potato with the rock.
We ain't talking Hart. They were taking the ball out of his hands.
Oh, whatever.
It wasn't just about Hart last night.
Okay, but Harden, what I've seen from him, what I've questioned about him, and you even said it, he was playing defense last year in the finals at least. He was taking shots, he was just missing them. He was hitting 2-point shots, not threes. Every year I see improvement. I saw enough last night to believe that Harden can come through in game 3, the series.
I hope you're right, Max.